UFC Fight Night Holm versus Viera full card prediction. 11 fights on the entire card. We got Ketlen, Viera, and Holm in the main event in the bantamweight division. Michel, Pereira, and Santiago Ponzinibbio in the welterweight division. Dusko, Todorovic, and Chidi and Njokuani at the middleweight division. Tabatha, Ricci, Polyana, Viana in the strawweight division. Yong Park, the Ninja Turtle, versus Eryk in the middleweight division. Alen, Amedovski, Joseph Holmes in the middleweight division. A lot of middleweight fights on the card. Parker Porter and Jailton Almeida in the heavyweight division. Omar, Morales, Uros, in the lightweight division. Vince Morales, Jonathan Martinez at bantamweight. Chase Super, Felipe, Colares at featherweight, and Elise, Sam Hughes in the women's strawweight division. Now, the fights that I'm expecting a finish, before we get into all of the predictions, the fights I am expecting there to be a finish, not going to be too many. Parker Porter's Jailton Almeida is 1, and Njokuani, Dusko, Todorovic is 2. Other than that, most of those fights are going to go to a decision. Yeah, we'll see a few finishes here and there, possibly the Uros fight, possibly the Jonathan Martinez fight, maybe Eryk and then maybe the Ponzinibbio fight, but I see a lot of decisions on the card, but yeah, I can't keep you guys waiting. We're going to get in right to the women's strawweight division. Elise and Sam Hughes in the women's strawweight division. Two girls that, if they would have lost their last fight in the UFC, might have got cut from the promotion. Sam Hughes was on a 3-fight losing streak, some of which, again, against solid opponents. Tisha Torres with an eye injury. Loma Lukbumi by unanimous decision. And Luana Pinheiro with a unanimous decision. Before that, she was nearly undefeated with a nice 5-1 record, but then she beat Estela Nunes by a majority decision, mainly using the wrestling and grappling. She's going to be 2 inches taller and 1.5 inches lengthier than Elise Reed. Not going to matter too much. The only way I really see her beating Elise Reed would be in the wrestling and grappling, and the way that Elise Reed was able to handle that takedowns and the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu of Corey McKenna in the last fight leads me to believe Elise Reed should be able and have a good enough wrestling and grappling ability to be able to defend the takedowns of Sam Hughes. This should be a striking fight. Maybe we'll see a takedown. We'll see some clinching and things like that, but no real heavy control time for either girl, because neither girl is really that much better in the wrestling than the other girl. Should be striking, and in that case, Sam Hughes does have the pressure. She has some really good volume in her fights, but she gets hit very, very often, and Elise Reed with the power advantage is going to land the harder shots, similar volume to Sam Hughes as well, and I think she's just going to win the fight that way. Sam Hughes is just known for that pressure forward type of fighter, but Elise Reed having those powerful shots in her disposal. Yeah, Sam Hughes might be landing a little bit more volume on the judges' scorecard, but the judges aren't going to look at just that volume. They don't have the actual statistics on how many strikes one fighter is landing over the other fighter, so they're going to look at the big shots from Elise Reed, the body kicks, the head kicks at range, the front kicks, and all of the good stuff that Elise Reed is going to land. They're going to give her the fight on the judges' scorecards. I do not expect to finish because Sam Hughes did not get finished by Loma Lukbumi, Luana Pinheiro, and then Tisha Torres, but it wasn't like a knockout or anything like that. And Elise Reed, the last time she got a knockout win was Hillary Rose. Other than that, all fights going to a decision. I got Elise Reed by a unanimous decision right there. Chase Hooper and Felipe Colares in the featherweight division. Now this one's interesting because Felipe is closer to that prime of his MMA career with similar experience as an MMA fighter to Chase Hooper, with the exact same amount of professional MMA fights. In the amateur career, he's got nothing there, but as a pro, very good jiu-jitsu. 5 submission wins, 2 knockout wins, and 3 decision wins. A lot of those submissions coming outside the UFC guillotine, rear naked, and then a arm triangle choke submission. Joins the UFC very up and down. Loses a decision to Geraldo de Freitas, wins a decision on Domingo Pilarte, loses a decision to Montel Jackson, wins a decision on Luke Saunders, and then loses a decision to Chris Gutierrez. This man is known for just going decision win, decision loss, decision win, decision loss over and over and over again, and he's coming off a decision loss, so what comes next is going to be a decision win. Now, I'm not just saying that just to say it, but he is the better fighter overall. Yeah, Chase Hooper is longer. He's a little bit taller by about, 5 inches in height. That's pretty insane. And about 6 inches in reach right there. I really do not care. Chase Hooper is a god-awful striker. He only has the leg kicks, the body kicks, front kicks, and things like that, and he's not going to be able to have the takedown accuracy to take down Felipe Colares or anything like that. Felipe, not a good striker by any means. He's not an elite guy on the feet, but if a guy like in the last fight, Steven Peterson was able to do it, if this guy right here, Peter Barrett, like a very, very god-awful fighter in the UFC, just got cut from the UFC. If that guy is able to outstrike you for 3 rounds, Felipe Colares can probably go out there and outstrike Chase Hooper on the feet. I'm not saying he's going to be going out there dominating Chase Hooper, knocking out Chase Hooper, or anything like that. I think he's just going to outstrike him a little bit, mix in the takedowns as well. I do think Chase Hooper, he does have the jiu-jitsu, but he has really no wrestling. The takedowns, the wrestling, the takedown defense is not going to be there. And even if Felipe Colares is going for the takedown, that's the main shot Chase Hooper has to win the fight. So he might actually accept getting taken down by Felipe Colares, just so maybe he has that shot to work for his submission on Felipe Colares. But Felipe is also a very legit jiu-jitsu guy, fighting out of Team Nogueira over there with Rodrigo Nogueira and Antonio Rogerio Nogueira, and plenty of other very, very legit grapplers and wrestlers. So he's definitely good enough to handle himself on the ground with a 22-year-old Chase Hooper, which only has like a heel hook that he can possibly pull out there, and things like that. So I really think Felipe Colares should definitely win the fight. He's better on the feet. He's got more volume. He's got more pressure. Wrestling and grappling is very, very even. Felipe Colares by a unanimous decision. Jonathan Martinez and Vince Morales in the bantamweight division. Now, Vince Morales, he's a little bit older, about 3.5 years older. Going to be a little bit smaller in terms of height. I don't know why we're on Hero Wars, but he's going to be about the same in terms of reach, so with a slight 1.5 inch reach advantage to Jonathan Martinez. Doesn't really matter too much, the height and the reach here. It really does matter, can Jonathan Martinez keep the volume in his hands similar to Vince Morales and able to keep up with the kicking game as well. If this fight is a full 3 rounds of striking, which I do think it will be, can Jonathan Martinez keep the hands very even to the hands of Vince Morales? Now that is the question we have to answer here for this fight, because Vince Morales, in my opinion, is going to have more volume in terms of the punches. He's going to have the harder punches as well, and he's going to throw a little bit more volume with those punches. I probably already said that, but Jonathan Martinez has something that can kind of edge it out on those significant strikes, which is going to be the leg kicks. He's got very good leg kicks, body kicks, front kicks, and things like that, and we do know that is a weakness of Vince Morales. He got leg kicked to oblivion against Chris Gutierrez and actually had to stop the fight due to those leg kicks, but I don't think Jonathan is going to be able to land the leg kicks as devastatingly as Chris Gutierrez was in their fight. I think mainly it's going to be a boxing fight with a few kicks mixed in there from Jonathan Martinez. This is one of those fights where I don't think there's going to be a knockout. I know Vince Morales got the knockout over Luis Smolka. I know Jonathan Martinez's only loss recently was Davey Grant by knockout, but I still have a feeling the fight is going to go to a decision, the full 3 rounds, and it really just depends on what the judges value. Do they value the harder punches coming in from Vince Morales landing a little bit more volume in punches, or do they value the total number of strikes with the leg kicks, with the body kicks, with the front kicks added on to the punches that Jonathan Martinez is going to land? So it is a very close fight, and I don't think it's going to be minus 200. It should be a lot closer than that. It could go either way. On the judges' scorecards, I'm expecting a very, very close 29-28 decision going either way. I really don't know who the judges are going to see go in the fight, because it really depends on who that judge actually is, and what do they value in terms of volume, harder shots, punches, kicks. What are they going to be valuing to actually give the criteria on who wins the rounds? But I'm going to lean Jonathan Martinez. He does tend to have a very good track record when the fight does go to a decision, like Thomas Almeida, Ziviashvili, and then Alejandro Perez. So I think he'll land the kicks, keep it even in terms of the punching volume, and slightly edge out a very close 29-28 decision. Omar Morales and Uros Medic in the lightweight division. Both guys coming off a loss, not doing too good recently. Uros is in the prime of his career. He's going to be a little bit taller by 2 inches, but he's going to have a reach disadvantage by 3 inches right there. Now, let's talk about strengths and weaknesses. weaknesses. Uros Medic's strength is that he can finish the fight at any moment of the fight. Flying knee knockout win in the UFC over Alen Cruz. I'm not sure if that's how you say the name, but he's fighting over there in Fury FC. And then that first round knockout win on Mikey Gonzalez. First round knockout win, first round submission, second round knockout win, but it was against a 1-5 guy. A first round submission, and then another knockout win. No matter what, this guy is getting finished, or he is getting the finish in the very first round or in the second round. That just seems to be the same thing that happens for Uros Medic time and time again. Omar Morales is a guy that has been finished before, but he didn't get finished by Giga Chikadze, which makes no sense. Didn't get finished by Giga, then gets finished by Jonathan Pierce right there. I don't know how that happens, but it just did. Now, Uros Medic's only hope for this fight is to go out there, land something big in the first round, ground and pound him, and finish him. Maybe submit him and finish him. He just needs to get that finish very early on in the fight. That is why I am thinking that Uros Medic is going to win the first round for sure. If it goes to a decision, he's going to win the first round. If it's a knockout, yeah, he's probably going to finish the fight in that first round. Uros Medic is going to win that first round. He comes out very, very hot, lands a lot of volume, a lot of really big shots, fight-ending type of shots. After that, the cardio starts to drain. And Omar Morales is not one of those guys that's super known for the cardio, but he's got some pretty good volume on the feet. He does have better striking, a few knockout wins early in his career, but in the UFC has not really been known as that finisher, with decision wins over Shane Young, Gabriel Benitez, and Dong Yong Ma right there. And I think that's what we're going to see here. I think Uros is going to come out very strong, almost get a finish, and then we're going to see Omar Morales pick up the pace a little bit slightly against the gassing Uros Medic. He's going to land a little bit more volume and mix in a takedown or two on Uros Medic, as well as the takedown defense of Uros Medic really is not that good. So I think Omar Morales loses the first round, takes the fight down later on in the fight, and then grinds to a decision. Although Uros gets finished, or he does get the finish in every single one of his fights. So I'm not going to be surprised if we see Omar Morales go out there and TKO him late in the second round or in the third round. Submit him late in the second or finish him in the third. I will not be surprised, but he's a decisionator inside the UFC. So I'm going to go Omar Morales by a decision right there. Jailton Almeida and Parker Porter in the heavyweight division. No longer the light heavyweight division, which is Jailton Almeida's natural weight class. The natural weight class that he was supposed to fight in was supposed to be against Maxime Grisham. If he would have won this fight, probably gets a top 15 fight in that light heavyweight division. He's 30 years old, very tall, and very, very lengthy for the light heavyweight division. But now he's moving up a full 60 pounds in weight to fight Parker Porter on short notice. Now, Parker is a pretty decently sized heavyweight. He's not like one of those really, really big ones that actually has to cut weight to make weight in the heavyweight division, but he's not necessarily a super small one either. His last time he weighed in at 263 pounds, but he's very fast. He's got very good hands, very good boxing and things like that. On a 3-fight win streak over Chase Sherman, over Josh Parisian, Alen Badeau. Got some good wins on the regional scene, but he did lose to Chris Dawkins by first round knockout, but it was on short notice, and he did have a pretty bad weight cut to make that one, because he was very big heading into that fight with Chris Dawkins. But now he's going to be fighting a taller Jailton Almeida, a lengthier Jailton Almeida, a better, more powerful guy in Jailton Almeida, and a guy with more volume in Jailton Almeida, and a guy that has the actually not more volume. I say Parker Porter does have the volume advantage, but a guy that has the jiu-jitsu advantage, the wrestling advantage, and the power advantage over Parker Porter. Now, this fight really does depend on can Jailton Almeida get the fight down on a guy that is way, way bigger than him. This is the heavyweight division. Jailton does not have to cut weight. Parker possibly has to cut weight, and I'm really not too sure, but he's a lot bigger, man. He could just use that sheer size and strength to be able to defend the takedowns on Jailton Almeida. I'm not saying it's going to happen, because I think eventually Jailton could time one of those takedowns, maybe even pick him up, slam him. maybe do a trip takedown or something like that, but eventually he will get the fight to the clinch. Maybe he does the Charles Oliveira like he did against Dustin Poirier and get the fight to the clinch, get one hook in, and literally jump to the back of Parker Porter. The man's jiu-jitsu is absolutely amazing. I had him winning the fight on the Contender Series against now 10-1 Nasruddinov, and I had him winning against Danilo Marquez as well. I saw this man as a hype train as soon as I saw him on Dana White's Contender Series. He's very tall, very lengthy, very well-rounded, amazing striking, very good power, and it's crazy wrestling and jiu-jitsu, and he's humongous for the light heavyweight division. But again, this is the heavyweight division, and I don't know how that's going to fare here. So having the odds at -700 seems a bit ridiculous to me, as he's fighting a lot bigger opponent in Parker Porter here, but I'm still going to go Jailton Almeida. I think eventually, some way or another, he'll find a way to either rock Parker Porter on the feet and knock him out, or take the fight down and submit him with a rear naked choke. I got Jailton Almeida by submission in the second rounds. Joseph Holmes and Alen Amedovski in the middleweight division. Alen, a lot older, 34 years old, coming off a 2-fight losing streak against Krzysztof Jotko and John Phillips. Krzysztof, very legit guy, lost to him by decision, but John Phillips, man, yeah, that's a tough one right there, because John Phillips is not an elite fighter by any means in the UFC, and he got knocked out by him. But that was 2.5 years ago, like I believe 2021 or 2020. He beat Ibrahim Mané over there in Bellator, Will Fleury in Bellator, Badrum Abdul in Bellator, or sorry, what is that? Combat League as well. He's got some good wins inside of Bellator and in other organizations, but in the UFC, man, he's done absolutely not that good at all, and he's fighting a guy 6 inches taller and 6 inches lengthier in Joseph Holmes. Alen does have the power. He's got a lot of knockout wins in his career. I believe every one except for maybe 1 or 2 is a knockout win for Alen Amedovski, but it's going to be very hard to close the height and reach advantage that Joseph Holmes is going to be having in the fight. So I do believe if Alen has any shot of winning, it's going to be early in that first round. He's going to be pressuring, looking to just throw hooks, hope one of them lands on Joseph Holmes and knock him out. But Joseph Holmes, being the taller, lengthier guy by 6 inches in both, should have Alen Amedovski come to him as he's landing jabs and 1-2s, and as he's coming in all the way, Joseph Holmes can also mix in the takedowns, mix in the wrestling and the grappling, and win the fight there as well. So I'm going to go Joseph Holmes to win this fight, and I'm going to go for him to win the fight by a unanimous decision. I think on the feet, he can keep it very even, stay away from the power shots of Alen Amedovski, laying his shots at range with the height and reach, and mixing the takedowns for that decision win. Solid fight there in the middleweight division. Eryk Anders and Junyon Park in the middleweight division. Now, Junyon lost one fight to Anthony Hernandez right there with an anaconda choke submission. Then he lost to Gregory Rodriguez by a knockout. But in the Gregory Rodriguez fight, his striking looked very solid. He rocked Gregory Rodriguez in that fight, and then he got knocked out after that. But he's beaten some really solid guys. Marc-Andre Barrios, he beat John Phillips by unanimous decision, landing almost, I believe it was, the most strikes in UFC history, if I'm remembering that one correctly. Destroyed Tafon Chukwi on the ground, destroyed Marc-Andre Barrios on the ground. Very good wrestling shown in all 3 of those fights, and very good striking shown in the Gregory Rodriguez fight as well. But same could be said for Eryk Anders, who's going to be about 3 inches taller than Junyon Park. He's going to be 2 inches lengthier than Junyon Park and has similar striking abilities to Junyon Park. The only thing that I can say Junyon Park would go out there and be able to win this fight would be with the takedowns. He's got very good takedowns, good ground and pound. He's got good trips in the cage as well. But Eryk Anders, man, he's good at going out there and just grinding out that decision. He did that on Gerald Mershar, Darren Stewart right there, Vincius Mejera. He did knock him out in that fight. Does lose a couple of fights that he probably shouldn't lose, like Elias Theodorou. But overall, he's a very legit guy. He's got very solid striking, and I do believe he will have the volume advantage over Junyon Park here. I believe he's going to land more shots on the feet. Maybe Junyon will tag him a little bit, but not enough to win the round. And I think Eryk's just going to land more volume, defend the takedowns here. Call me crazy if you will. I'm going to go Eryk Anders to win this fight by a decision. I know a lot, 63% going Park by a decision, but I think Anders is going to go out there, keep it very, very even on the feet, and slightly out-edge Jun Park in terms of the striking. With the height, with the reach, it will enable him to land a little bit more in terms of the jabs, and it'll help him defend the takedowns a little bit easier, as the shot for Jun Park is going to be a lot harder to close that distance and get in on the takedown, as he's going to be having those hands to worry about to push out of the way when he is shooting for the takedown. So I see the fight staying on the feet for most of this fight. We'll see a few takedowns, possibly from Eryk Anders as well. They both have good wrestling, but mainly is going to be a striking fight. And first underdog of the night, I got Eryk Anders winning this fight by a unanimous decision. Polyana Viana and Tabatha in the women's strawweight division. Both girls pretty close in terms of age, 27 and then almost 30 years old. Polyana Viana, very tall, very lengthy for the division, being 4 inches taller than Tabatha and having a 5-inch reach advantage over Tabatha. She's on a 2-fight win streak, but before that was on a 3-fight losing streak. Submitted Mallory Martin with an armbar, submitted Emily Whitmar with an armbar, got submitted herself with an armbar against Veronica Macedo, lost to Hannah Cyphers, which is not a good, well-aging fight at all. Then she lost to JJ Aldridge as well. She's got a lot of submission wins on her record, also TKOing Amanda Hebas early on in her career, but this is not a girl that you're going to go out there and submit. She's not going to go out there and submit or knock out Tabatha. Tabatha, probably, in my opinion, is not going to go out there and submit Polyana Viana. Her only loss to date is Mana Fiora right there, and Mana Fiora is a very legit prospect, about to fight the #1 contender in Ketlen Chookagian on the France card over there in September. So I don't think that's a bad loss by any means. That is one of the top tier women's flyweights, and that was her UFC debut on short notice. Other than that, she's got really good takedowns, very good ground and pound, and the jiu-jitsu is definitely better than Polyana Viana. Striking wise, it is going to be very even. I don't give an advantage to either girl, because neither girl is really a striker by any means. So it should be very even on the feet. Jiu-jitsu wise should be even as well, but wrestling wise, I think Tabatha is better. I think she has the ground and pound as well, and I think she's going to use that to grind her way to a unanimous decision right there. Tabatha by a unanimous decision. Chidi and Njokuani and Dusko Todorovic in the middleweight division. Dusko looked good early on in his career, was on a very, very good win streak, undefeated, going on the Contender Series, getting a unanimous decision, beating Daquan Townsend with a ground and pound TKO. Then after that, man, he found some guys with some power. Gregory Rodriguez and Punahele Soriano. Punahele knocked him out clean, knocked him down plenty of times in that fight. Gregory Rodriguez went out there, knocked him down plenty of times, rocked him plenty of times, and then won that one by decision. But then, Dusko Todorovic ended up fighting a guy that's on his way out of the UFC over in Eagle FC at the moment. In Maki Batola, was able to outstrike him on the feet, take him down, and TKO him. This is not going to be the case here. He's not going to outstrike Chidi and Njokuani by any means. He's going to have a 6-inch reach disadvantage. He's going to have also a 2-inch height disadvantage as well. And Chidi is going to have the power advantage. And with the chin of Dusko Todorovic, it does not make me confident by any means that Dusko is going to win the fight, because I mean, Chidi and Njokuani knocking out Christian Torres in the LFA main event, knocking out Mario Souza in the Contender Series, then knocking out Marc-Andre Barrial, who we all thought would be able to land or be able to actually eat some of the shots from Chidi, as I don't think he's ever been knocked out in his career. Now he's fighting a guy that has a worse chin than all three of those guys, Christian Torres, Mario Souza, and Marc-Andre Barrial. The chin of Dusko Todorovic is absolute garbage in my opinion. I do think Chidi's going to go out there and knock him out. There's a possibility, I mean, 90% is a little bit off right there. There's a possibility Todorovic could go out there, take the fight down, use his wrestling, use his grappling, get a TKO win, or get a submission like he did against Maki Butolo and Daquan Townsend. Very, very likely. I think 100% shot, maybe 90% shot, this fight is not going the distance. So I'm going to go Chidi and Njokuani by knockout right there. It is very interesting in that Chidi has not really been tested against a very good wrestler or grappler. Dusko isn't a very good wrestler or grappler, but you never know with the takedowns there. He could grind out a decision or maybe even get that ground upon TKO, but I think it stays on the feet, and I think Chidi knocks him out in the first or second rounds. Santiago Ponzinibbio and Michel Pereira in the welterweight division. Michel, very, very experienced. So is Santiago Ponzinibbio, but you would think a guy like Santiago fighting in the UFC for as long as he has, you would think him being 35 and Michel Pereira being 28, almost 29 years old, that Santiago would have more experience as an MMA fighter. No, Michel Pereira has a little bit more experience by about 5 more professional MMA fights, recently going on a 4-fight win streak over Zelim Imadaev by 3rd round submission, Chaos Williams by unanimous decision, Nico Price by unanimous decision, and Andre Fialho by a unanimous decision. Andre Fialho is a very legit win to have 100%, but he did lose to Dusko Todorovic. That is a horrible loss, especially if you're beating guys like Zelim, like Chaos Williams, Nico Price, Andre Fialho, and then another one, Tristan Conley, another one, Diego Sanchez, and then there's a few like decent guys down here, like Carlston Harris is a legit guy, but it's very weird. His record is kind of like a Michael Johnson one, where he's losing to very low-level fighters in this middleweight division, and even the featherweight division in terms of Tristan Connolly, Diego Sanchez, Dusko Todorovic. He's losing to those guys, but he's making Zelim Imadaev look like an absolute garbage fighter. He's going out there outstriking Chaos Williams. He's beating Nico Price. He's taking Nico Price down, and he's outstriking Andre Fialho. That is insane how we can beat such good fighters and lose to such bad fighters. But now he's fighting one of those good fighters in Santiago Ponzinibbio from Argentina, former top 10 UFC welterweight. Was on a crazy win streak at one point, beating Sean Strickland, beating Court McGee, Nordine Taleb, Gunnar Nelson, Mike Perry, Neil Magny. Had a very long layoff, then didn't do too good. Lost to Jing Lian Lee by knockout, Zhaf Neal by decision, and then beat Miguel Baeza. But this fight here, Michel Pereira and Santiago Ponzinibbio, I think Michel, volume-wise, is going to be very, very even. Power-wise, I do give Michel Pereira the advantage there. In terms of technique, yeah, you're going to go Santiago Ponzinibbio, but the judges are not going to look at who has the better technique. They're going to look at who has more shots landing, who's going to have the more powerful shots landing. And honestly, Michel Pereira is the more powerful guy. He's the more flashy guy. He's going to be landing flying knees, spinning things and stuff like that, and that is going to really resonate with the judges in those crazy, crazy things that he does. A lot of the stuff does not land, but every now and then, if he lands like a flying knee to the body, if he takes down Santiago, that is all going to register in the judges, and it is going to help him get the fight on the judges' scorecards. Santiago could very well go out there, keep a high guard, defend the big shots of Michel Pereira, and out-volley Michel Pereira for the decision, but I do think Michel could keep the volume very even and just laying the harder shots to a decision right there. Now, it's not only the striking that we have to worry about for Michel Pereira. He's not necessarily a super legit wrestler, a super legit grappler, but with the crazy stuff that he does do, you're very focused on what he's doing on the feet, that every now and then he can possibly mix in that takedown. He's got a very good blast double leg at range after he throws a big combination of weight, blast double leg, and he's very good at that. So there's a possibility we do see a few takedowns from Michel Pereira in this fight to help him out-edge Santiago on the judges' scorecard. So it's a very close one. Santiago, all he needs to do is defend the takedowns, keep the fight on the feet, out-volley Michel, and not let Michel land those big shots. But that is a lot to ask for, because Michel's a very tricky puzzle to solve, and it's very hard to prepare for Michel Pereira. But I'm going to go Michel Pereira by unit. I'm going to go a split decision. I'm feeling risky today. I'm going to go Michel Pereira by a split decision, 29-28 on 2 out of 3 of the judges' scorecards. Holm and Ketlen Viera in the bantamweight division. Ketlen, 12 wins and 2 losses. You're losing to Yana Kunitskaya and losing to Irene Aldana, while winning against Kat Zingano, Sijara Eubanks, and Miesha Tate. I still don't know how she got a main event fight with Miesha Tate after losing to Yana Kunitskaya. Still makes no sense in my opinion. opinion, but she's going to be a little bit less in terms of reach right there and have the same heights as Holly Holm. She's a lot younger in the prime of her MMA career, but that's for men. Usually male MMA fighters prime around 31, 32 years old, somewhere around that range. But with women, they tend to have their prime a lot later in their careers. And Holly Holm has been looking very, very good recently, going out there, out wrestling Irene Aldana in her last fight, getting a unanimous decision, beating Raquel Pennington, Megan Anderson, Besh Correa, Ronda Rousey, plenty of very good girls. The only fighters she's losing to are champions. Miesha Tate by 5th round submission for the belt, Valentina Shevchenko by decision, Germaine Duranami by decision, Chris Cyborg by decision, and Amanda Nunes by a knockout right there. Every single one of them is a champion. Every time she fights one of those contenders in the UFC bantamweight division, she goes out there and she unanimous decisions them. Megan, Raquel, and Irene, she goes out there and she unanimous decisions them. She has more experience in 5-round fights than Ketlen Viera. Ketlen only went 5 rounds once with Miesha Tate. Holly Holm is a better striker than Ketlen Viera. She's a better kickboxer, of course, than Ketlen Viera. She's a better boxer than Ketlen. She's going to land more volume. She's going to land the harder shots. And takedown wise, she did very good against Irene Aldana, and having a year and 7 months off is a lot of time to just keep on working on the wrestling, keep on working on the takedown defense, which is the main way Ketlen Viera wins. So I think Holly Holm will do enough to actually defend the takedowns of Ketlen Viera, keep the fight on the feet, and outstrike her for at least 4 rounds, at least 4 of them, if not at least 3 of the rounds out of 5. But I think we're going to see a 49-46 unanimous decision. 1 round possibly goes Ketlen Viera if she can mix in a takedown and just kind of hold Holly Holm there for at least 1 of the rounds. But I cannot see her doing that consistently throughout the fight. I see it staying on the feet. Holly Holm by a unanimous decision. Those are the full card predictions for UFC Fight Night Holm versus Viera. I got Holly Holm by decision, Michel Pereira by a decision, Chidi and Njokuani by knockout, Tabatha by a decision, Eryk Anders by a decision, Joseph Holmes by a decision, Jailton Almeida by a submission, Omar Morales by decision, Jonathan Martinez decision, Felipe Colares decision, and Elise Reed by a decision. Those are full card predictions. Make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Let's go.